My best friend called me and said, "Your wife suggested we all have a threesome together. What do you think?" I told him I'd consider it. The trap I set that night destroyed both their lives. Hello everyone. If you're subscribed, let's dive right into this story. This tale will absolutely infuriate you. But don't worry, justice will be served in the end. Ready? Let's begin. Don't forget to hit that like button. I absolutely love reading your amazing comments. I'm Alex, 31 years old, and I work as a software engineer in Seattle. This story involves my wife Rachel, who's 29 and works as a marketing manager, and my best friend since high school, Jake, who's 32 and works in finance. Rachel and I have been married for 5 years. We met through mutual friends, dated for 2 years, and had what I thought was a solid, trusting relationship. We lived in a nice apartment downtown, had active social lives, and seemed to be building a good future together. Jake has been my closest friend for over 15 years. We went to high school together, were roommates in college, and stayed close even after we both moved to different cities for work. When I moved to Seattle 3 years ago, one of the things I was excited about was that Jake lived there too, working for a major investment firm. Rachel had always gotten along well with Jake, which I appreciated. Some couples struggle when one partner has close friendships with the opposite sex, but Rachel seemed to enjoy Jake's company and often encouraged me to spend time with him. They joke around together, and I thought it was great that my wife and best friend had a good relationship. I should have paid more attention to exactly how good that relationship was. Last Friday evening, I was working late at the office when Jake called me around 8 p.m. This wasn't unusual. We often talked in the evenings about work, weekend plans, or just random stuff. "Hey man, what's up?" I answered. "Alex, I need to talk to you about something, and I want you to know this is really awkward for me." His tone was serious, which immediately got my attention. "What's going on?" "It's about Rachel." My stomach dropped. "What about Rachel?" She approached me with something today, and I didn't know how to handle it." "Jake, just tell me what happened." "She suggested that maybe the three of us could, all be together, like sexually." I sat there in my office chair, trying to process what he just said. "She suggested a threesome." "Yeah, she said she'd been thinking about it for a while, and wanted to know if I'd be interested. She said she was going to talk to you about it too." My mind was racing. Rachel had never mentioned anything like this to me. We'd had a normal sex life, and while she wasn't particularly adventurous, she'd never expressed interest in involving other people. "When did she talk to you about this?" "This afternoon. She texted me asking if I wanted to grab coffee, and when we met up, she brought it up. She asked you out for coffee to discuss having a threesome." "I guess so." "Alex, I told her I'd have to think about it and talk to you first. I mean, this is really weird territory for me." I appreciated that Jake had called me immediately, but something felt off about the whole situation. "What exactly did she say?" "She said you guys had been talking about spicing things up in your relationship, and that you'd both agreed that if it was going to be with anyone, it would be with someone you trusted completely." This was news to me. Rachel and I had never had any such conversation. "Jake, Rachel and I have never discussed anything like this." There was a long pause. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we've never talked about having a threesome, spicing things up with other people, or anything remotely like that. But she said." "I know what she said, but it's not true." Another pause. Longer this time. "Alex, I'm really confused. Why would she tell me you guys had already discussed it?" That was exactly what I was wondering. After I hung up with Jake, I sat in my office trying to figure out what was going on. There were a few possibilities. Rachel had genuinely been thinking about a threesome, and lied about us discussing it to make the idea seem less shocking to Jake. Rachel was interested in Jake specifically, and was using the threesome idea as a way to explore that interest. Rachel and Jake were already involved somehow, and this was their way of trying to legitimize whatever was happening between them. The more I thought about it, the more option 3 seemed likely. Rachel's sudden interest in a threesome, combined with her lie about us having discussed it, suggested she had ulterior motives. I decided I needed to investigate before confronting anyone. Over the weekend, I started paying closer attention to Rachel's behavior and communications. I noticed she was texting more frequently than usual and seemed protective of her phone. When I asked who she was texting, she'd give vague answers like just work stuff or planning something with the girls. On Sunday, while Rachel was in the shower, her phone buzzed with a text message. The preview on the lock screen showed it was from Jake. "Can't wait for tomorrow night. This is going to be amazing." Tomorrow night. We had no plans that I knew of, and Rachel hadn't mentioned anything about seeing Jake. When Rachel got out of the shower, I casually asked what her plans were for Monday evening. "Oh, I'm having dinner with Sarah and Michelle. Girls' night. That sounds fun. Where are you going?" "We haven't decided yet. Probably just somewhere downtown." She was lying. The text from Jake made it clear she was planning to see him, not her girlfriends. I decided to set a trap. On Monday afternoon, I called Jake. "Hey man, I've been thinking about what you said on Friday. About Rachel's suggestion? Yeah, I think I'm open to trying it." "Really? You're sure?" "I mean, it's definitely outside my comfort zone, but Rachel seems really interested, and like she said, if we're going to try something like this, it should be with someone we trust." "Okay, so what do you want to do? Why don't you come over tonight? Rachel's supposed to be going out with her girlfriends, but maybe I can convince her to cancel, and we can all talk about it. Are you sure she'll be okay with me just showing up? Let me text her and see. I'll let you know." I didn't text Rachel. Instead, I sent Jake my address, which he already knew, and told him to come over around 8 p.m. Then I waited to see what would happen. At 6:30 p.m., Rachel came into the living room wearing a nice dress and heels, more dressed up than she usually got for girls' nights. "I'm heading out for dinner with Sarah and Michelle," she said, giving me a quick kiss. "Have fun. What time do you think you'll be home?" "Probably around 10 or 11. Don't wait up." "Actually, Rachel, before you go, I want to talk to you about something." She looked nervous. "What about?" "Jake called me Friday night." Her face went pale. "What did he say?" "He told me about your conversation, about the threesome suggestion." "Oh, right. I was going to talk to you about that." "Were you?" "Because you told Jake that we'd already discussed it, which isn't true. I didn't want him to think I was being weird or inappropriate. I thought if he believed you were already on board, he'd be more open to the idea. So you lied to him." "I guess technically yes, but I was planning to talk to you about it." "Well, I've thought about it and I'm willing to try it." Rachel's expression changed completely. She looked shocked, then excited, then nervous again. "Really? You're serious?" "Yeah. In fact, I invited Jake over tonight so we could all discuss it." "Tonight? But I have plans with the girls." "Cancel them. This seems more important." Rachel was clearly panicking. "I can't just cancel on them last minute." "Sure you can. Tell them something came up, but we already made reservations." "Rachel, I thought you wanted this. Jake's coming over at 8. You can call your friends and reschedule." She was trapped. If she refused to cancel her plans, it would be obvious that her girls' night was more important to her than the threesome she'd supposedly been fantasizing about. "Okay," she said finally. "I'll call them." I watched Rachel make a phone call, ostensibly to cancel her dinner plans. She had a brief conversation with someone, telling them she couldn't make it tonight due to a family situation. Then she went upstairs to change into something more casual, I assumed for our evening with Jake. While she was upstairs, I set up a small recording device in our living room. I wanted to capture whatever happened next. At exactly 8 p.m., Jake knocked on our door. I answered while Rachel was still upstairs. "Hey man," Jake said, looking nervous. "Are you sure about this?" "Absolutely. Come in." Rachel's just getting ready. Jake came into the living room and sat on our couch. He seemed anxious, constantly adjusting his position and looking around like he wasn't sure he should be there. "So how do you want to handle this?" he asked. "I think we should just see how things develop naturally. No pressure, no expectations." Rachel came downstairs a few minutes later, wearing jeans and a casual top. She looked nervous as she entered the living room. "Hi Jake," she said, her voice slightly shaky. "Hey Rachel, Alex told me you wanted to talk about the situation." "Right, the situation." I could tell both of them were uncomfortable, but there was something else in their interaction, a familiarity that suggested they'd been in intimate conversations before. I let them sit there in awkward silence for a moment, watching their body language. Rachel kept glancing at Jake, and he kept avoiding eye contact with both of us. The tension in the room was thick. "So," I said, sitting down across from them. "Rachel, why don't you explain to Jake exactly what you have in mind?" Rachel looked like a deer caught in headlights. "Well, I thought maybe we could just see what happens." "That's pretty vague." "Jake, what did Rachel tell you when you had coffee yesterday?" Jake shifted uncomfortably. "She said you guys had been talking about exploring new things in your relationship. And what else? That you both thought if you were going to try something like this, it should be with someone you trusted." I nodded slowly. "Interesting. Because Rachel, you and I have never had that conversation." Both of them froze. "Jake, I need to ask you something and I want you to be completely honest with me. Is this the first time Rachel has approached you about anything intimate?" Jake looked at Rachel, then back at me. "What do you mean?" "I mean, have you and my wife had any other conversations about your relationship, about feelings, about anything beyond normal friendship?" The silence stretched on for what felt like forever. "Jake," I said quietly, "I know about the text you sent Rachel yesterday saying can't wait for tomorrow night. This is going to be amazing." Both of their faces went white. "How do you—" Rachel started. "I saw it on your phone, the same phone that apparently has been very busy lately with text conversations you've been hiding from me." Jake stood up suddenly. "Alex, I think I should go." "Sit down, Jake. We're not done here." "I don't think." "Sit down." Jake sat back down, and I could see his hands shaking. "Now let me tell you what I think has been happening. I think you two have been having some kind of relationship behind my back. I think the threesome suggestion was your way of trying to legitimize whatever's been going on. And I think tonight's girls' night was actually planned to be a night with Jake." Rachel started crying. "Alex, it's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." We've been talking, as friends. But nothing physical has happened." "What kind of talking?" Jake finally spoke up. "Alex, I swear to you, we've never done anything physical. We've just connected emotionally." Emotionally connected. With my wife, while lying to me about it. "It wasn't supposed to happen," Rachel said through her tears. "We were just talking about relationships in general, and we realized we had feelings for each other." "How long?" "What? How long have you been emotionally connected?" Rachel and Jake looked at each other again. 3 months, Jake whispered. 3 months, a quarter of a year. While I'd been thinking I had a happy marriage and a loyal best friend, they'd been carrying on an emotional affair right under my nose. "Tell me everything," I said, "and I mean everything. Because I'm recording this conversation, and if I find out later that you've lied to me about anything, it's going to make things much worse for both of you." Rachel's crying intensified when I mentioned the recording, but Jake just nodded. "It started when Rachel and I had lunch 3 months ago," Jake began. "You were out of town for work, and she asked if I wanted to grab food and catch up, and we started
talking about relationships, about marriage, about whether people can really be happy with one person for their whole lives. Very philosophical. Rachel said she'd been feeling disconnected from you lately, that you'd been working so much and traveling more. I looked at Rachel. Is that true? You have been working a lot, she said defensively. So that justifies having an emotional affair with my best friend? It wasn't an affair. We were just talking. Keep going, Jake. We started texting after that. Just as friends at first, but the conversations got more personal. Personal how? Team Goldor, we talked about what we wanted from relationships, what made us happy, what we felt was missing from our lives. And you told her things were missing from her life with me? I told her she deserved to feel heard and appreciated. The manipulation was becoming clear. Jake had positioned himself as the understanding friend who could give Rachel what her neglectful husband couldn't. When did it become romantic? About a month ago, Rachel admitted. Jake told me he had feelings for me. And you told him you had feelings for him too. Yes, while you were married to me. Alex, I never meant for this to happen. I love you, but I also developed feelings for Jake, so you decided to have both. No, that's why I suggested the threesome. I thought maybe if we could all be together, it wouldn't feel like cheating. The twisted logic was astounding. Rachel had convinced herself that a threesome would somehow make her emotional affair okay. And Jake, you were fine with this plan. I was confused, Jake said. I have feelings for Rachel, but I also didn't want to lose your friendship. The threesome seemed like maybe we could all get what we wanted without anyone getting hurt, except that you were both lying to me about your relationship and planning to manipulate me into a sexual situation based on that lie. Neither of them had an answer for that. Rachel moved out that week. The divorce was finalized 6 months later, with the recording serving as evidence of her adultery. Jake lost his job when their affair became public through mutual friends. Apparently his company had strict policies about personal conduct affecting professional relationships. Rachel and Jake tried to make their relationship work after everything came out, but it crashed and burned within 3 months. Turns out a relationship built on lies and betrayal isn't particularly stable when forced into the light. Trust your instincts when something feels off. My gut told me Rachel was lying about the girls' night, and that instinct led me to uncover months of deception. Have you ever had to expose a betrayal to protect yourself? Share your story in the comments. Sometimes the truth really does set you free. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories about trust, betrayal, and justice served.